Hey, friend, it's me, Bobby B, joining you from wherever you might be. Maybe you're walking, maybe you're driving. I tend to drive when I'm listening to podcasts. Um, I'm not sure why I'm babbling, but I have something to chat with you about today. And this is going to build on my conversation that I had with Nikki Boone in the last episode. And because she hit on something that really struck me both at this time in my life and throughout my whole career, as I'm sure many of us do. And it's something that we probably struggle against. And so I just want to reiterate some of what she talked about. One of the major shifts that she had in her work and how she goes about her work. And that is the idea of surrender. And I know a lot of us struggle with this. Many of us do, especially those of us who are perfectionists. Perfection is the antidote to creativity, my friends. And the reason for that, I chatted about perfectionism 2 episodes ago. And so that's why I thought it would be even more important to, or even more fitting to talk about surrender. The antidote to perfectionism is surrender, right? It's curiosity. It is leaning in to those places where you are uncomfortable, and discomfort becomes more comfortable when we're curious about it. Instead of trying to avoid discomfort, leaning into it. What about this is making me uncomfortable? So I recently did a bunch of traveling, and the word surrender struck me, which is also why I'm bringing this up, because Nikki brought this up and it feels very like synchronous. I was looking out the window and we were flying and there was some turbulence and I was like, okay, like here we are. I'm just here. The turbulence wasn't like life altering. It wasn't whatever it is, what it was. But that's what surrender is, my friends, is when there is shit happening around you that you have no control over. So anxiety comes from us not being able to control things. And we can't control anything. We may think that we can control stuff, but my friends, we are not in control of anything. The only thing that we can control is how we react. So if we can react with curiosity and if we can surrender to the situation, then the most beautiful magic comes out of that. I fucking promise you will be so inspired if you just let it go. Just follow your nose and photograph what lights you up. Now, a lot of us, especially in like the lifestyle and wedding genres, there are so many preconceived notions, some contrived notions, expectations about how things should and shouldn't look. It's all bullshit. Things should look the way they look, however you want to make them look. That's the beauty and power of photography. But what Nikki talked about specifically was about surrendering to that situation and letting yourself just flow into it, be part of it. That's a piece that I think is really missing in family and wedding photography that doesn't feel real. So many of my students come to me because they're tired of making photos that don't feel real. They're tired of things having to be perfect. They're tired of trying to meet some like nebulous expectation as to how the day should go, what people should look like, what is and what isn't flattering. These things they're all just ideas that have been put in our head to sell us stuff, to make us feel like we're not worthy of what we are actually drawn to. Okay. So honestly, this sounds conspiratorial, but it is. That's what capitalism is. It's selling us something, right? So the antidote to that is being curious about what is actually happening in front of you. What is actually happening here rather than my impression of it? What is happening? How can I get super curious to figure this out? How can I make an image that asks all kinds of questions rather than giving you all the answers? So perfectionism provides you the answers. Timeless photos, beautiful photos, art make you ask questions, right? A beautiful photo, an intriguing photo, an artistic photo is not spoon feeding you the answer. It is leaving you with questions. It's intriguing. It's interesting. It is something that we couldn't have thought of. So, for those of us who want to venture into more free flowing, who want to step away from adjusting things so that they are just so. And if you do that, I want to know why. Why are you doing that? Why does that have to look a certain way? How does it feel in your body when that bra strap is just a little bit off? Or someone has just a little bit of a double chin. Why does that bother you? That's the first question we have to ask ourselves. Because if if you can't answer that, then you're going to have a very hard time surrendering, because the answer is probably going to be it just looks better or it feels better. So you have to sort of slip into your body. What is it about this situation that makes me uncomfortable? And oftentimes we don't bother to answer that question because that makes us sit with the being uncomfortable part. But here is my encouragement to you for 2025, my friends. If you are listening to this in January, let 2025 be your year of curiosity. Let it be your year of getting comfortable with discomfort. So hold back on the moment where you feel that you have to step in and fix something. And maybe you do this in your photography. Maybe you do this in other areas of your life. I know I have. I've done it a lot. And my friends, it eventually comes back to bite you in the ass. You cannot control a situation. The only thing you can control is how you react to it. So if your reaction is flow, if your reaction is curiosity, if you surrender to what this scene is showing you, you will blow your mind with what you are able to create and with the trust that the people around you give you. There is a learning curve here because some clients want perfectionism, right? But if you are someone who is tired of giving out that perfectionism, 2025, surrender. That's your word for the year. This is what I'm bestowing upon you with this podcast. Speaking of which, I didn't do a year-end wrap-up in 2024. I'm a big fan of wrap-ups. I didn't do one. I think I'm just going to wait a little bit because December doesn't feel like the year's over. I honestly feel like the year kind of ends in February because January is dark and hazy up here in Canada, and there's so much fallout that still comes from all of this stuff that happens in December. So I'm actually going to hold off on that year-end episode and do that for you in February. But let's start off this year with curiosity, my friends. I didn't finish my plane story. So I was in the plane, there was some turbulence, and I settled into my seat, and the word surrender came to me. Because if there's anywhere in the world that teaches you that where you need to surrender is a plane. Now, please don't infer that I'm saying that you need to surrender in every single situation. Surrender is a lot easier if you're safe or relatively safe. But a lot of times our amygdala, our like hindbrain, our like lizard brain tells us that we are unsafe or we are uncomfortable in situations where there's no reason to be. Like we actually are safe. You know, you're not going to lose your job because you follow your nose while taking a photo. In fact, your life will become much more rich and much more, your art will become much more lively. It will become much more you. So I am asking you to notice in your body when you feel uncomfortable, when you're shooting, when you're in situations where you're like, oh, I'm not comfortable, but you're still safe. So that's when you get to play with it. That's when you get to be like, okay, what about this is making me uncomfortable? Where can I be curious to find out more about this situation? How can I make art from it? You're an artist. How can you make art from this slightly uncomfortable situation? Okay. So I think it might have been like episode 4 or 5, really early in my podcasting career. I did an episode about comfort zones, and I alluded to this, or I told the story about how comfort you can measure your discomfort in kind of 3 different colors. So green is comfortable, everything's cool. Or yellow, orange is where you're like outside your comfort zone, but you're not like freaking out yet. And then red is where you are like freaking out and you're way too uncomfortable and you feel unsafe. So where we want to get is we want to get outside of that green zone and into that yellow zone when we're shooting. And we want to try and get into those places where we do feel slightly uncomfortable. Maybe you're trying a new skill. Maybe you're trying a new perspective. Maybe you're not putting people in the most perfect of light. Maybe you're just letting things flow in a way that you never flowed before. Maybe you are not picking things off of people or like making them do micro movements with their hands. Something to think about, my friends. Surrender to the situation. Allow yourself to be curious. Allow yourself just to sink in with your people. Sink in and just be part of what they're doing. That is what is going to make you a better photographer. If you want more help with that than this little 10-minute podcast, I am doing my group mentorship course, Storyteller School. It's going to be starting in February. If you're listening to this in January, I'm putting a link into the show notes. Storyteller School. We learn about who you are, what is driving you. We talk about your why. We figure out your why. We figure out your gift, what it is you bring to this world. And then we build your business based on the foundation of who you truly are and what you bring to your clients. We figure out how you can market that. We figure out how to brand yourself. We rebuild your website. We figure out how you can price yourself in your market. We do all sorts of business-based things from the foundation of truly understanding your innate perspective, how all of these experiences in your life have defined you and what truly makes you you. So if you're someone who struggles with figuring out what makes you different from other people, if you're somebody who is feeling kind of stagnant in your business, you've been doing this for a long time and you need some new skills, you are really interested in documentary photography, but you're not sure how to do it, you feel like you're kind of shouting into the void when you're on Instagram, if you feel like you're not being heard or seen, this group mentorship is for you. It's limited to 6 photographers and you get one-on-one coaching with me as well as weekly group coaching. So it is a mind-blowing, life-shifting way to look at your business. And I am so stoked and so proud of it. And I would love to talk with you about it. So grab yourself a little chat with me from the show notes or hop on the wait list. Both links will be there. And I just want you to thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And I hope you have a really beautiful day. You've been listening to the Tilt and Shift Photography Business Podcast. I hope this conversation or these coaching tips have brought you a little tilt, maybe a little shift in your mindset, in how you look at your business, in how you think about your art, and how you show up in your life. Thank you for being here today, and we will talk at our next episode.